5 biggest mistakes writers make in their manuscripts. So I'm going to just go through a few technical mistakes that writers tend to fall into that discredits their story. So we may have an awesome story, and if we kind of get slippery in our skills, the story loses credibility. So when we are writing a story, we're essentially setting up a contract with the reader. We're like, this is the dream I am creating for you, and I'm not going to break that dream so that you know you're reading a story. So the first mistake I see a lot is POV, point of view, inadvertent POV changes. The writer establishes a kind of point of view with one character, and then in a scene, all of a sudden we're in the other character's consciousness looking back at the character we thought we were following. You can switch point of view, but you need to do it skillfully. So think of point of view as kind of a camera system. And if the camera keeps moving around, it gets really jerky for the reader, and they won't want to stick it out with you or your story. So really important to work point of view very skillfully. All right, number 2, similar to point of view switch, changes in verb tense. I see this all the time. A writer will start in the past tense and all of a sudden switch to present tense and then kind of mix it up down the road. It's okay if it's deliberate, but often that kind of switching of verb tense is unconscious. And so make sure you have somebody reading your work who can catch tense changes. All right, number 3, purple prose. When I started writing, I loved waxing poetic. I still kind of do. But if I was writing a story, I would, start with the kind of character voice and be in this point of view, and then I'd drop in this purpley prose description of like a sunset or whatever. It took me ages to learn that it's that contract again, going back to that contract, when you establish a voice, when you establish a point of view, the descriptions must come through that lens. They can't all of a sudden be a kind of poetic free-for-all if you didn't set it up that way. All right, 4th mistake I see. It's kind of comes from panic. Like a character is going along, living their life, and the writer thinks, oh my God, nothing's happening in my story. I need something to happen. And instead of attending to the inner life of the character, they like throw some crazy bomb into the story. Maybe a gun comes out of nowhere, or, some lightning bolt comes out of the sky. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I call this being too loud when we just start throwing external events at our characters without attending to the inner life because we think something needs to happen. But the thing that needs to happen is often a shift on the inside of the character. All right, the last one, too much irrelevant backstory. I love backstory, and I think backstory can be really, really well done. One of my teachers said, but when you're writing backstory, it has to be the best writing. because it's detracting from the forward movement of the story. So the question I ask my students is, how is this relevant to the forward movement of the story? How does it lend itself to that movement? So just check on your backstory. Does it support the front story, or do we get pulled away, away, away from the trajectory of the story moving forward? All right, I hope those were helpful for you. If you appreciated those tips, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow, and like, and I will be back with more videos next week. Thanks for tuning in.